In this video, I'm going to show you the Bolex 16mm film camera. So inside the kit, you'll find the camera body, a light meter, an extra daylight spool and box, and a couple of filters that you could use if you're shooting color film. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom of the camera. Here you've got your trigger. There's a single shot, which you expose one frame at a time, or you can push it back and that will be consistent shooting at whatever frame rate that you select. So to select the frame rate, you would use this dial here. You just turn this little knob to change the frame rate. 24 is for regular shooting. You can go all the way up to 64 for a higher frame rate, and down to 12 frames per second is the lowest. But 24 is regular speed. See this knob here? There's two options. If you have it on the T and you press this forward, the shutter will stay open for as long as you have this trigger pressed forward, and it will close when you release it. So that would be just for single frame exposures. Normally you would want to have this set to the eye. When you're shooting on the eye, you can press the trigger backwards and it will give you a consistent shutter speed. Just up from there is a mounting point. This would be used for mounting an external motor. Then above there, this is for rewinding. If you want to rewind the film manually, you can take a rewind crank out from Media Resources, and that's something you would have to book separately. Going towards the top of the camera, this is a frame counter. So the bottom will advance at 50 frames at a time, and the top will advance at single frame at a time. When you're using the hand crank motor, you would want to have this lever pointing towards the top of the camera, so that's engaging the hand crank motor. If you had an external motor attached, or if you were actually rewinding it manually, you would need to disengage the motor by pressing this lever down to the bottom. And at the same time, you would need to push this trigger back in order to do that safely. Okay? So if it's disengaged, it will be pointing down, and this trigger will be back. And if you want to engage it, you can push that back to the middle and have this lever up, pointing towards the top of the camera. The Bolex has a hand-cranked motor. You just wind it up. When it's fully wound, it will stop on its own, so you'll know. When it's fully wound, it will give you about 30 seconds of shooting time. This here is the footage counter. You can use this to keep track of how much recording time you have left, how much footage you have left. And this will go by feet, generally. So one daylight spool, which would be like this here, when you have a new box of film and you take it out of the package, you'd have 100 feet of film. So this will count up to 100. Moving towards the front of the camera, this little lever here controls the shutter angle. So when this lever is up towards the top of the camera, it's open, and if you have it fully down, that means the shutter will be completely closed, so you'd be letting no light into the camera. Generally, you want to have this in the open position at the top. So moving up to the eyepiece, you see this here is called the dowser. This allows light into the eyepiece. So when it's horizontal, it's allowing light in, and when it's in a vertical position, it's cutting light out. When you're framing and you're setting up your shot, you want to have it open so that you can see your frame. And that would be when you have your eye on the eyepiece, you can have it open. When you take your eye away from the eyepiece, you can close it, and that will make sure that no light will leak in. And then over here, you would set the diopter. This is called the locking ring. And you need to unscrew that in order to be able to change the focus of the eyepiece. To set the focus on the diopter to your own eyes, you'll want to first remove the body cap. Loosen the locking ring here, and then you'll put the eyepiece up to your eye, and you're going to want to point the camera up towards a bright light source. If you're outside, you can just point it up into the sky, or if you're inside, point it up towards a light. You're going to use this ring here to set the focus. You'll know that it is focused when you can see the grain on the glass. So when you can see the texture of the glass, you'll know that that's in focus, and then you can lock the locking ring in place. Most of the Bolexes that we have C lens mounts. So they're very easy to attach. You just remove the body cap, just twists off, and then you're going to attach the lens in the same way. Just try and keep it flush, nice and straight, and then it will be secure. Directly behind the lens, you'll find the filter holder. This one here swings out, and then you can just pull this out. This is where you would place any filters, such as the color balance filters that come in the kit. So you just place the filter in here and then replace it.